Love lives here.
So, I have a question for you. Well, you know I always have questions for you, right? Who here has walked on water? Frank thinks he has, all right? He knows he has, all right? Your golf ball, too. Just right there floating on the surface and whack, right? Okay. Who here has turned water into wine? I wish, yeah, I think that's a general sentiment. I know that Sanja and I were talking about turning water into wine earlier this morning too, right? Turning water into wine. Okay, and so who here has raised the dead? Not yet. Okay, raising your teenagers out of bed in the morning is halfway there. How's that? So for those of you who have had teenagers, you know the story, right? So you're halfway there. All right. So today is Easter, so happy Easter. Feliz Pascuas. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Christ consciousness today. We're going to talk about Easter. We're going to talk about the resurrection. We're going to talk about all that kind of fun stuff. Sound good? Okay. Well, I mean, if it doesn't, that's fine too. I'm just like, I was just trying to take the temperature of the room here, because this is not something we usually address, correct? Right? Yep. So it's kind of coming out of left field for some folks, perhaps. So this is not something that we always address. So let's talk about resurrect. So in order to be resurrected, what has to happen first? You got to die, right? And then if you're resurrected, what are you? Or a zombie, right? Could be, Walking Dead. We have whole TV shows about, rising from the dead, right? So, or you could be born again. It's a possibility. But in order to, you're fine. In order to be resurrected, you first have to die, correct? All right, so what we know is that form comes to pass, does it not? So we come into form, we become embodied, we come into form, and all things, right, the bottom of the V, all things come to pass, meaning that everything happens for a reason, or everything happens, everything comes to pass, and everything comes to pass, right? Like a cockroach, right? Back on your back with your feet in the air, right? Everything comes to pass. So form transfers, right? Form changes, it transforms, it becomes something different. So the physical body is not eternal. However, the spiritual body, the life force that you are, the energy that you are, the, dare I say it, the Christ that you are, is eternal. That is the eternal thing. Christ is eternal. It isn't resurrected. Christ is not resurrected. All right? Christ is not resurrected. Got it? The Christ is awakened. It is awakened within you. And the moment that we begin to awaken to it, that we wake up to it, then we can begin to embody it. But the Christ itself, the God consciousness, the Spirit, the divine nature, your truest essence, the who of who you are, is where? It's already within you, right? It's already here. It's already present. It was never born. It never dies. It is absolutely eternal. And so it's already present. The Spirit within you, the life within you, the energy within you, the Christ within you is already present. Never born, never dies. The Christ is God's knowingness of itself. The Christ is God's knowing itself. It is the realization of its perfection in human form. Who's with me? Yep. All right, we're tracking. All right. So the Christ then is the universal sonship, S-O-N, the universal sonship. It is the realization of perfection in all of life, in all of creation. Tracking? I know this is like, Jeff, this is so weird, but okay. We're still good. All right. So, John 3:16. Who can tell me what's in that? God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. What's that? That whoever so believeth in him shall have everlasting life. Okay. Good. Wow. Some scholars up in here. That's great. That or it was just like pounded into your consciousness when you were a child and you couldn't get rid of it even if you tried, right? Okay. So we start here because Meister Eckhart said that God never begot but one son, S-O-N. But the eternal is forever begetting the only begotten. One more time. The eternal is forever begetting the only begotten. So what does this really mean? What this means is that, simply put, God is all there is. God is forever expanding and forever expressing, forever individualizing itself in, through, and as all of life, through, as all of creation. So God, Spirit, is begot Son. Son is creation, right? It's the bottom of the V. It's the form. So Spirit created creation through the law of cause and effect, right? Through the law, right? Spirit created creation, and Spirit, so this is the begotten Son, right? This is the perfection of Spirit in form. Here's Spirit. Here's the perfection of Spirit in form, right? And Spirit, like the little tip, like the little thing on the V that goes that way, it's forever and always and always begetting. In other words, it's always and always creating the only thing it's ever created, which is itself. Expanding itself, expanding its beauty, expanding its love, expanding its joy, expanding its possibilities, right? Expanding its creation. It is forever and ever begetting the only thing it ever begot, which is itself, which is the Son, the form, the universal sonship that we all enjoy, that we all share, that we are all part of, that we are all one with. We're tracking so far. Yeah? Okay. You're like, we came to CSL. We didn't come to a Christian church. Why did we come to CSL? Yes, okay. And you've got Bible dictionaries sitting on your desk, on your table. So, Christ is not a person. Christ is not limited to one era 2,000 years ago. Christ is a principle. Christ is a consciousness. So when we speak about Christ, we are actually speaking about the Christ consciousness. The Christ consciousness is our oneness with and as the divine. That is the Christ consciousness. So when we wake up to realize and unify with the divine, when we wake up and realize that the who of who we are is Spirit made manifest, is a magnificent, glorious expression of Spirit having a great time as Spirit in an embodied form. That is who we are. That is what we are, right? So it's not a person per se, especially it's not a person in the as a great exception in Jesus, the Christ. It is everybody, right? So a little bit more about this, and then we'll continue on here. So Christ, too, is not a last name. Hate to tell you. It's not Jesus Christ. It's not a last name. All right? Not a last name. Christ is a title. In tradition, in Aramaic, Messiah originally meant anointed. It was anointed. So anything that was anointed, anointed with oil, anointed with water, anointed with blessing, anything that was anointed was called a Messiah, was referred to as a Messiah. And then the Greek version of Messiah is Christos. And that's how we get the two words Messiah and Christ. One comes from the Aramaic, one comes from Greek. Got it? All right, so these are titles saying the anointed one, right? So it is more appropriate to say Jesus the Christ, because the Christ consciousness was more fully realized in this individual, in this man, than it has been in any other that we know of up to this point. So it's Jesus the Christ. Another way of saying it would be Christ Jesus, right? Because then it would be like title, name, right? So when I was young and my father used to say, Christ, Jeffrey, what were you thinking? I didn't realize it at the time. I thought he was like, angry with me. But I didn't realize that what he was actually doing was say, Christ, Jeffrey. Oh, Holy One. What were you thinking? Why were you thinking that way? Why did you make that mistake? Right? He was actually calling me to my higher self, right? It's one way of looking at it. So next time you hear somebody go, Christ, Frank, then it's like, yes, you called, right? Right? It's calling something, it's calling that higher thing from within you, right? It's calling that higher self from within you. All right, so Jesus, my beloveds, was the great example, not the great exception. What do I mean by this? Jesus was the great example, not the great exception. So, in order for us to become more Christ-like, in order for us to have a greater Christ consciousness, then we as human beings need to embody, actively, intentionally embody the divine more. That we need to manifest our Christ nature. Our human ideas, our human limitations give way, if we intentionally do that, give way to our divine nature. The flesh, if you will, the human, not just the human form, but the human mind, the mind of separation, gives way to the mind of unification. So the flesh gives way to spirit. The will of the division, the will of separation, gives way to will of unification. That we then are looking at the unification. So Jesus embodied the idea of the oneness more than any other that we can think of. He embodied the Christ consciousness. He was a man who knew himself, self with a capital S, and his direct relationship with the wholeness more fully. He believed in God within himself. He believed and knew that God was within himself. So much so, he believed in him. He believed God within, that he was then able to believe in, or he was able to believe in, or believe himself. Again, self with a capital S. He was recognizing and understanding that, wow, there is only this one life, this one power, this one presence, this one infinite eternal, and I am that. It resides within me. And he was so in tune and aligned with that, that the possibilities of the universe were able to flow through him, and he was able to use the law of cause and effect. He was able to use the law of manifestation. He was able to use the law of creation to create, to manifest, to change, to transform. More completely than perhaps you and I can. But if he were not a man, and he were not able, and he were some kind of superhero, we wouldn't be able to relate to him. How many of you think, how many of you, when you think about Superman, are you like worshiping to the altar of Superman? Right? Those ideas of Superman flying through the sky, jumping buildings in a single bound, all that kind of stuff, seemed way too far-fetched. It's supernatural. It's like a superpower, superhero, right? So we don't study the mythology of Superman, do we? For the most part. I mean, there might be a few exceptions. Just saying. But we don't. However, we do look at the mythology, the history, the stories of the man, Jesus, and what he taught, and the way he walked, and the way he was a way shower, and the way that he was a teacher. So, John 14:12. Anybody know that one? No? All right, shaking your heads. Okay. So, whoever believes in me will do the work that I've done, and even greater things shall they do. In other words, he is a teacher, he's teaching, and he's saying, look, if you believe in me, not me, Jeffrey, not me, Jesus, but if you believe in me, if you believe in the Christ consciousness, if you believe in the truth of who you truly are, and your oneness with Spirit, then you will be able to do everything that I've done. And not only can you do everything I've done, you can do even more than that. Don't limit it by what I've shown you. Do even more. The me here, what's happened over the 2,000 years is that the person Jesus and the Christ consciousness, the principle, has gotten merged like this, to where people are now worshiping or looking to the man and thinking the man is super special. Yes, he was special, but he's not supernatural. So looking to the man rather than looking to the truth that he was trying to teach or trying to share. So think of it like this. You know, when I drop a crumb on the floor and Paisley or Oliver don't initially see it, it's not very rare. I mean, it's not very often, but they don't always see it. They hear it drop and they're like, where is it, where is it, where is it? And what do? I point. And it's like, Oliver, it's right there. But Oliver's not looking where I'm pointing. He's looking at my finger. Because he thinks the treat is going to come from my finger. And so he's focused on my finger. He's not focused on what I'm pointing at. That's what's happened over 2,000 years. So many people are looking at the finger, the pointer finger. So many people are looking at the finger that they're not looking at what it's actually pointing to, which is that the Spirit is within you. The Spirit is all of you. The totality of who you are is Spirit in form. So he was the great example, not the exception. Yes. So, he also taught, right, that our Father who art in heaven, right? And what else did he teach about heaven? Heaven is within. So where is the Father? Where is Spirit? Where is God? Within, right? So our Father who art in heaven, and heaven is within you. The kingdom of heaven is within. So that means it's right here. So Spirit, God is within you. So that was a huge part of his message. So recognizing that the heaven, the Spirit, life, and love is within you, that is where we need to focus. Correct? In Matthew 16:24 through 26, anybody know that one? No? Okay, all right. Just checking, because you were like surprising me a little bit earlier, so I was like, okay. This is where he talks about having to lose your life. If you're going to follow the Christ, if you're going to follow Jesus, you first have to lose your life in order to find it. And those who hold on to the worldly life do not find Spirit, or do not find the holy life, or do not find the larger life, right? So, again, this is not what he's saying here is that you don't have to die and come back to life like a zombie, right, in order to follow the ideas. Because the idea here is that you die, you give up your old ways of thinking, your old ways of being, your old ways of acting, your old ways of behaving. You give up that ideas of sin, right? Remember, sin is just a mistake. It's something that keeps you separated from your true nature, your God self. So by giving up all those things that keep separating us from Spirit, then, and by giving up the attachments to the world, attachments to the physical, by giving up those, we are able to experience more of our Christ consciousness. We are able to experience more of our higher selves. So when we seek first the kingdom, the relationship with Spirit, seek first the kingdom, and then all things are added. When we seek first to realize our oneness with and as the divine, then all things are added unto us. Correct? It's tracking. All this sounds familiar, I hope, right? Paul in 1 Corinthians 15:31 talks about dying daily. So the opportunity here is for us to practice. What he's encouraging is daily practice. When we go to bed, put it away and start new the next morning, right? So how is Jesus, the great teacher, showing us to live? By first awakening to our Christ consciousness, awakening to that which is within us, okay? Then he invites us to release the obstacles, the ideas, the thoughts, the deeds, the words, the sins, the mistakes that are in the way of us fully realizing and fully embodying our Christ consciousness, fully embodying the truth of who we are. Michael Beckwith teaches that 100% of spiritual growth is in the letting go. Letting go of things we thought we knew, letting go of small ideas, letting go of who we thought we were, who we think we are, and opening to and realizing a greater possibility for our lives. So then 3, being intentional. Intentionality, making choices that are in alignment with your highest good. 4, increase your unity, decrease your separation. And 5, embody. Embody the who of who you are. As we increase our consciousness, we become more Christ-like. And we can see this through the 4 stages of spiritual consciousness or conscious development, right? 2 by, through, as. To me, things happen to me. I release that. Then I realize that things happen by me. I'm a creator. Then as I release that and I realize that, oh, I'm actually co-creating. I surrender to this power and presence that I know is present within me. I surrender to that and I'm a co-creator. So then things are happening through me. And then as I release any last assemblages of individuality, I realize that things happen as me, right? So this is the perfect time for us to go to tables, all right? So at your table, we have the questions here for you. You have them on a piece of paper, this small blue sheet of paper, and then you also have them here on the screen. So what obstacles, thoughts, beliefs, words, actions are in your way of living a fuller life? So what obstacles are currently in your way? What is something you can do to remove them, one or more of them? And then what is something you can embrace today that will bring you into greater alignment with your truest self, and what action can you take? What action will you take? So remember, this is about releasing the human form, the limitations. This is about releasing and letting go of our limitations and embracing our greater possibilities. And these questions are designed to help you move through and identify, to first awaken to your Christ consciousness, to your higher consciousness, recognize what it is that you need to let go of or release, perhaps a way of doing that, and then what must you embrace and take an action there. All right, here we go, and begin. Okay. So, while you might not be able to walk on water yet, unless you're Frank, on the golf course, right? You might not be able to walk on water yet. You might not be able to change water into wine yet. Okay? I think that's the one we're all going to strive for, right? What you can do already, my beloveds, is you can calm the storms. You can calm the storms. You can say, peace, be still, and calm the storms. Calm the storms of your own life. You can also multiply the loaves and fishes, beloveds. That's the basic principle of abundance, right? Believing in abundance. Multiplying the loaves and fishes. So you guys already know how to do that, yes? All right, so you're already halfway there, right? So this week, I invite you to, as Paul says, die daily. Another way of looking at this is to awaken anew. Gabby Bernstein, she is an author, and she has this practice that I want to share with you, and this is your homework for the week. It is daily desires. So every morning, ask yourself these 4 questions. You can do it while you're brushing your teeth. You can do it before you get out of bed, whatever. Just make a ritual out of it. And then keep in mind what it is how you answer these questions. Question number 1 is, who do I want to be today? Who do I want to be today? Now, this is not like you answer as like, oh, I want to be the Queen of England, right? That's not the way we would answer that question, right? It would be, I want to be a person who loves well, right? Who do you want, or whatever it is, I want to be a person. I want to be someone who, right? So who do you want to be today is question number 1. Question number 2 is, how do you want to feel today? How do you want to feel today? Because remember, it's all about the feeling tone. What we create in our lives is how we are feeling is what is the fuel for creation, is the fuel for creating. So, how do I want to feel today? Number 3, what do I want to give today? What do I want to give today? And number 4, what do I want to receive today? So this morning, as I was doing this practice, I asked myself, who do I want to be today? I said, my answer was, I want to be somebody who speaks about the Christ consciousness in a way that others can understand, right? How do I want to feel today? I want to feel empowered. I want to feel love, and I want to give that love and give that empowerment to others, right? I want them to feel the love. I want them to feel empowered, especially around this topic that can be such a hot button for those of us in Centers for Spiritual Living. And what do I want to receive today? I just want to receive the peace and the equanimity that comes from knowing the truth and realizing my own Christ consciousness as best I can today. So it's that fast, it's that simple. Doesn't have to be long and drawn out. You can make it more long and drawn out if you want to, but it doesn't have to be, okay? Got your homework? Know what you're doing. All right, so I invite our practitioners to please stand and encircle the room, encircle our beloveds. And our core council members as well. Our core council members as well. All right. So let's come together in consciousness, recognizing right here, right now, there is just this one life, this one power, this one presence. It is spirit, living, moving, breathing, and having its being in, through, and as all of life, and through and as all of creation. It is eternal. It was never born. It never dies. It is the Christ consciousness that inhabits, that lives, and animates each and every one of us. We are one with it, inseparable from it. It is the namaste. The God in me recognizes the God in you. The Spirit in me, the Christ in me, recognizes the Christ in you. It is the Christ consciousness. It is the universal sonship that we know and claim for ourselves here this day, that right where we are, the Christ consciousness is already removing the obstacles that have been in our way, allowing us to continue to express and expand our goodness, our greatness, our divine magnificence, as we embrace it, as we embody it further by doing the work that we have been called to do, by saying yes to Spirit, by releasing those things that no longer serve us, we clear our own path and we co-create with and as the divine. And how good it is to know this, how good it is to express this, how good it is to live from this place of unity, of oneness. So we die daily to what has been, and we embrace life anew each and every day. Who do we want to be? How do we want to feel? What do we want to give? What do we want to receive? We live with intentionality. And we inhabit and embody the Christ that already is. And so I give thanks for this. I give thanks for this realization. And I release this word into the law, knowing it is done, knowing it is so. I simply let it be. And together we affirm, and so it is. And so I invite everybody to stand and let us say the affirmation together. I greet each day with joyful expectancy. Let's hear it.
I greet each day with joyful expectancy.
One more time, like you really mean it, like you're Christ-filled. Here we go.
I greet each day with joyful expectancy.
And so it is. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called love.
It is this thing called love.
Love is in my mind.
Love is in my mind.
Love is in my body.
Love is in my body.
Love is in everything I do. I am it.
I am it.
I share it. I receive it.
I receive it.
And I move love forward. Because love lives here. Happy Sunday.